Okay. Greetings, everyone. Before we start recording, we'll be recording this session. Just some quick housekeeping matters. Appreciate if you can, first of all, welcome, and we appreciate if you can just type your name and organization into the chat. And during the presentations, please use the chat if you have any questions at all. And likewise, during the Q&A, you can always raise your hand. So we are now going to start the recording of the session. Civic greetings and a very warm welcome to you all. Thank you for your interest in today's event. It's the first ever roundtable discussion that we're having on the impacts of the project, which we commonly refer to as FO4ACP, otherwise extended. It's Farmer Organizations for Africa, Caribbean, and the Pacific. It represents a partnership between the European Union, the Secretariat, Secretariat of the Africa, Caribbean, and Pacific States, or OACPS, the International Fund for Agricultural Development, otherwise referred to as EFAD, and ourselves, Pacific Farmer Organizations, where our members are implementing the project on the ground directly with farmers. Yesterday, as we celebrated Earth Day with the theme Our Power, Our Planet, which focuses on renewable energy and climate action, we also bowed our heads and continue to bow our heads in respect for the passing of one of the world's most humble leaders, the Bishop of Rome and the spiritual leader of the worldwide Catholic Church, His Holiness the late Pope Francis. As a tribute to the life and legacy of the late Pope, we wish to share parts of a message that he delivered last February in 2024 to the Governing Council of the International Fund for Agricultural Development. And I quote of what His late Holiness shared. Today, our world faces a heartbreaking dichotomy. On the one hand, millions of people are plagued by hunger, while on the other hand, great insensitivity is seen in the waste of food. The food wasted each year generates masses of greenhouse gases, while proper rationing would be enough to feed all the hungry. The late Pope Francis further added, these are precarious times. We are pushing the world to dangerous limits. The climate is changing. Resources are being plundered. Conflict and economic crisis threaten the livelihoods of millions of people. In the face of the crisis, rural communities are the first to suffer, as they do not have the resources to cope with the situation brought about by climate change and hostilities and are excluded from access to finance. Indigenous peoples are also victims of hardship, deprivation, and abuse, yet their knowledge of natural resource management and their connection to the environment can help conserve biodiversity. Another neglected group is women, who are the mainstay of more than half of the food insecure households in rural areas, where many young people lack training, resources, and opportunities. Young people are the future of our rural communities, and they hold important potential for innovation and positive change. His Holiness then shared on the importance of collective action in working together to build a more inclusive agricultural food system. And he stated that research and technical programs that promote sustainable and environmentally friendly agriculture will also contribute to this. His full message can be found on the internet. And today, we will hear from farmer organizations who, through the FO4ACP project, have worked towards this and continue to work towards this. Before we hear from the speakers, let us first watch this video titled Seeds of Success, and this was produced by EFAD in late 2024. Thank you.
EFAD for Farmers Organizations, the FO4 programs. By directly investing in family farmers, the FO4 programs aim to increase farmers' incomes, improve their livelihoods, food and nutrition security, contributing to achieve SDGs 1 and 2, embodying the principles of the EFAD Farmers Forum and United Nations Decade of Family Farming. In partnership with the European Union and the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, The FO4 programs are implemented by farmers' organizations, AgriCord and FAO's Regional Office for Latin America and the Caribbean in Africa, Caribbean and Pacific regions, Asia and Latin America. Receiving a total of 73.5 million euros, funds are channeled through the regional level and distributed to national and local levels. The programs focus on three key components. 1. Enhancing farmers' economic development. 2. Amplifying farmers' voices in policy dialogues. 3. Strengthening farmers' organizations' institutional foundations. Let's take a look at their impact on the lives of farmers around the globe. Travel to Southern Africa, where the Southern African Confederation of Agricultural Unions leads the way. In the highlands of Lesotho, under the guidance of the Lesotho National Farmers Union, meet Thandi. Thandi is a poultry farmer member of the Basotho Poultry Farmers Association, BAPOFA, a local farmer organization led by women who make up 80% of its members. Component 1 of the FO4ACP program transformed Thandi's life. BAPOFA improved its infrastructure by modernizing poultry housing and building feed storage facilities. The association also gained essential machinery like automated feeding systems and egg incubators, resulting in a production boost and the opening of new markets. Globally, through Component 1, over 614,000 farmers across more than 30 value chains have achieved a 3-time increase in the volume of marketed products, with a 4-fold rise in sales, and mobilized 52 million euros in investments. Now move to the western coast of India, in the state of Gujarat, and meet Shardaben, a resilient farmer from Gandhinagar. Like many women in her region, Shardaben faced the critical challenge of land ownership, exacerbated by the loss of valuable farmland to industrial development and the pressure to sell at undervalued prices. But Shardaben turned the tide with the support of Component 2 of the FO4A program, which enabled her to benefit from the Self-Employed Women's Association's campaign for women's land rights. With access to quick dispersal loans and financial services, Shardaben was able to secure her land and avoid losing it to predatory lenders. Inspired by her success, other landless women in a nearby district formed a cooperative on leased government land, transforming it into a thriving ecotourism center. Through Component 2, 535 sector policies have been influenced and over 600 peer exchanges and good practices shared. Finally, journey in the highlands of Caranavi, Bolivia, and meet Mateo, a coffee farmer whose life changed thanks to Component 3 of the FO4LA program. With 87 other producers, Mateo was trained through an initiative led by CoProFam and AgriCord on mastering efficient land use. He obtained an organic certification from BioLatina, boosting his coffee production 6-fold. The Café Caranavi brand now thrives internationally, enhancing Mateo's income and promoting Bolivian coffee's global reputation. Overall, 167 national and 4,000 local farmers' organizations have been strengthened through Component 3, with over 4,000 women and youth advancing to leadership roles. The FO4 programs have transformed the lives of over 70 million farmers, 12% of the world's family farms. The FO4 programs act as seeds of success, empowering farmers to lead sustainable development efforts, nurturing lasting positive changes and paving the way for a more resilient and equitable future.
We thank IFAD for that video production. For today's roundtable, as you had gathered from the video, there are 3 components, but today we'll be focusing on Component 1, which is all about enhancing farmers' economic development. So basically linking farmers to market. And it brings us to the theme for today's roundtable discussion, which is helping farmers make money. The project was all about increasing food and nutritional security as well as income for farmers. And from our latest review on our beneficiaries, the increase in income for farmers across the entire Pacific was approximately 39 million euros over the course of the 5-year project for FO4ACP. We want to invite you at this time to reflect on what you saw in the video and just share on some of the words or phrases that resonated whilst you were watching the video. We'll give you a moment to respond. Thank you. Oh. Sorry, we'll move it this time. As you can see, there's a poll on the screen. I apologize. Sharing words that resonate from the video that you've just watched. Before we move to our first speaker, we thank you for those who've responded thus far. Now we'll move to our speakers. We have 3 speakers who will be sharing with us today, from the Kingdom of Tonga, from Samoa, and then we'll hear from our Executive Director. To begin today, we'd like to introduce you. It's a great pleasure to introduce you to Jenny Nishi, the Project Manager for Nishi Trading based in Tonga. And Jenny will be sharing on their recent cool store and solar panel installation and how it's supported the farmers who are their members. Thank you. Jenny, I invite you to take.
Thanks, Angela. I'll just share my screen. Oops, sorry, I'll go back. I'll run through my whole presentation.
All good, all good.
So this is the economic impacts that we've had from having our cool store and solar panel installation over the past 4 or 5 years. And some of these photos that you can see on the screen, that's some of the produce that we've been able to put through our cool store due to this project. And you can see there's one of our farmers there. He's one of our young farmers. He's quite proud of his watermelon. Okay, so here we have, firstly, what happened is that we realized that we needed to prolong the shelf life of our export produce. Primarily, we deal with fresh produce. So with the issues with shipping schedules changing and the percentage of export produce compared to what the farmers were bringing in was relatively low, between 50 to 70%. So we realized that we needed some way to prolong the shelf life and just enable our farmers to get a little bit more income from the volume that they'll be able to put through. So our cool store was commissioned in October 2021. The capacity is 385 tonnes and it's approximately 1.7 meters square. And then in September 2023, we commissioned our solar power facility. And the reason that we needed that is that we realized pretty early on, having the cool store, that it's just not affordable for us to be able to run the cool store without regenerative energy. And solar power was chosen. It's the #1 regenerative energy source in Tonga. Because of the amount of sun we get and the power of it, quite intense over the summer period. Okay. So at the moment, because we've been in quite high summer, we're managing, the capacity has been over 12,000 kilowatts per hour, and that manages to run our pack house facility on its own. Okay, so the impacts here of the cool store, decided to do a little case study on our local potatoes, because that's something that we have been growing consistently since 2021. And you'll just see this bar graph demonstrates the number of months each year that we have been able to store or sell potatoes. And you can see from 2021 and 22, when we first started the cool store, we're only able to sell potatoes for 2 months of the year, just because of the heat. So typically we have to plant middle of the year, and then it's available in the last quarter of the year for sale. And it rots very quickly if we did not have the cool store. So you can see in 2023, so we're starting to use the pack house more here, and we were able to store it for 4 months. And then just in the last year, we've actually been able to store it from, I think, about September of last year right through. I think we sold the last around March this year. So it's been about 7 months. So just having that available increases our farmers' ability to earn income substantially. And also it's reducing our import substitution, because there's a lot of potatoes eaten in Tonga, especially when we have functions, things like that, in Christmas time. So that's had a lot of positive effects on the economy there. And we have around 20 to 30 smallholder farmers that are able to put their produce through our pack house. Actually, I think we put through around 100 tons, approximately 100 tons every year through our pack house and cool store because of this. Okay, and here the impacts of the solar power, you can see quite clearly there. If it wasn't for the solar power, we would not be able to run the cool store. So this graph is just showing the percentage of power that we use that is generated by solar, and it's now averaging around 53%. Initially, when it's first started in 2023, it was only around 23%. And also I think just because in 2025, it's a little skewed because, like I said, we've had our summer period, so we get a lot more sun during that time. But it's still around a 50% saving on our power bill, which means we can afford to run the cool store. Okay, so our future directions for this particular activity is that we need continual infrastructure improvement, and that is a lot of that is monitoring equipment and its technical expertise. Just because once you put a cool store in, that's not the end of it. Depending on the type of crop you have, they will emit gases at different rates, and we will have to monitor that and open up the doors and do various things, put in fans, exhaust systems. So we're still very much in the process of learning when it comes to that. At the moment, we have kept to around about 5 to 6 different crops, and then we aim to expand on that. Another thing that we really think is important too is for the solar power to be fully sustainable, we need to install a battery system. So that way we're not reliant on the power grid at all. We have had power cuts continuously since the volcanic eruption, and it's really impacting on our machinery. That, you know, if we didn't have, fortunately we have a generator, if we didn't have that, we would have had a lot of produce spoilt. So we're really fortunate to have that for our farmers. And then our third step would be opening the cool store facilities to the general public. At the moment, we want to keep it contained to our farmers, simply because, like I said, we only know the technical monitoring ability of a few crops at the moment. So we just have to keep developing that, and we hope to be able to open the cool store to the general public in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Wonderful to hear how the investment made The innovative investment made is prolonging shelf life for the farmers and their crops and reducing food wastage. So thank you again for sharing.
Thank
From
you.
Tonga, we now travel to Samoa, where I now have the pleasure of introducing Ta'alonga Apa, the Senior Program Manager for Women in Business Development Incorporated, otherwise referred to as WIBD. Ta'alonga will be sharing on how they maintained a market for their farming households for virgin coconut oil. Ta'alonga, I invite you to take the floor.
Thank you, Angela. So I'll share my screen now. Just want to confirm if everyone can see my screen now, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Ta'alonga.
Thank you. So good afternoon, everyone. So today I will be delighted to share an inspiring story that highlights the incredible efforts of WIPD. So their transformative work as part of Components 1 of the FO4ACP initiative is truly making a difference for our farmers. So today we'll spotlight how the investment into a local facility that has not only empowered farmers, but has also unlocked the international market opportunities, showcasing the economic impacts of this project. Okay. So let's begin with the core of WIPD's work, uplifting vulnerable families and smallholder farmers. So WIPD focuses on creating sustainable livelihoods for farmers in Samoa through organic farming practices and cultivating of high-value products. This including virgin coconut oil, salmon cocoa, soaps, dried teas, and dried bananas as well. So all our coconut oil is produced by rural and vulnerable families, and the testing, the packaging, and exporting of the oil, as well as some value added addition, is done at the WIPD production facility. So recognizing the untapped potential of VCO, the FO4ACP invested in upgrading the facility to make it possible for other WIPD product lines to be exported. Okay, so one of the most remarkable outcomes of this investment was the certification achieved by the facility, enabling WIPD to supply the virgin coconut oil to the Body Shop International in UK. So this is an international giant known for promoting ethical and sustainable sourcing. So this certification wasn't just a technical upgrade, but it was a gateway to global markets. It was elevated the profile of Samoan smallholder farmers, especially for our WIPD members, allowing them to be recognized as key players in the production of high-quality organic ingredients. So the production dropped during the pandemic. So the movement's restrictions in place that WIPD sought through this funding to reallocate the upgrading of its facility. So this means that the sought after the Body Shop International call for the oil to produce their cosmetics could be exported to the certification standards demand. So what does this mean in practical terms for our farmers on the ground? So the partnership with the Body Shop has created the steady demand for their VCO, ensuring the reliable income streams and improve the financial stability for our farming families. So as a result, the farmers gain access to international markets, ensuring a steady demand for their products and creating the reliable income streams for them as well. This story highlights how an initial investment in certification led us to sustainable economic benefits for farming communities.
Sorry,
So
Talonga.
WIPDI celebrates.
Sorry, Talonga. Sorry to disturb you. It's just that the slide's not moving. It's fine. You can continue the presentation. Just
Did you guys see the slide 4, the real economic impacts?
no, not it hasn't come through. If you're having issues with it,
it's moving on my computer, sorry.
Okay, so it's
But
holding
you
on.
guys
Okay.
can hear me talking?
Yeah, no worries. Keep talking. All good. Thank you.
Sorry about that. It's still moving from our computer. So we're going to move now to slide 5, but I'll be happy to share this to everyone after the session.
Thank you.
So WIPDI celebrated these achievements through an impact poster that was developed and put together by our PFON team. So that impact poster that visualized the journey and the ripple effects of this activity. The posters also showcase how the certification and subsequent partnership have brought lasting the economic benefits to the farmers and the community. So looking ahead, and our future plans, WIPDI aims to continue building on this progress, exploring opportunities to replicate this success across other product lines and farmer group. So last year, we've hired our research and development associate director. She'll be focusing on developing some new products, and this will be added on to the work that WIPDI is currently doing in this facility. So some of the lessons learned, the investments in quality and certification into more high-value products. Yeah, the upgrading facilities to meet the global standards, it was essential for WIPDI. The Certification Act has gateways to premium international buyers. So strategic partnerships, yeah, we will continue in collaboration with ethical brands like Body Shop and others to create and continue this sustainable demand, establishing trust and long-term relationship with buyers so that we can strengthening our market's presence. And of course, empowering our local farmers and smallholder farmers. We will continue providing education and training on organic practices to boost the product's quality. And of course, the economic stability for farmers leads to broader community development. And the last one, storytelling and branding will continue showcasing the origins and impacts of products, enhances our market's appeal. And to close off our presentation, so let's reflect on the larger vision of FO4ACP, which is to increase the incomes and improve the livelihoods, food and nutrition security of organized smallholders and family farmers. And WIPDI's work with VCO and other products exemplifies this vision, showcasing the incredible impacts that can be achieved when passion meets purpose and when the investments are aligned with local needs and global opportunities. Yeah, I think that's it from us. Thank you, Angela, for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Talonga. Really grateful to hear how the upgrade to the facility has not only supported virgin coconut oil, which you were already involved in, but opened up the Body Shop market, and also the other product lines that you've been able to create through that upgrade and to export. So thank you very much for that sharing. I do sincerely apologize to participants. We are having technical challenges. It's a new system that we're using. So what we'd like to do is ask if there's anything that you've learned from what has been shared by the first two speakers. And if you want to use the Q&A chat to respond, that's currently working. But if you'd like to share just anything new that you've learned or something that has that the ladies have shared that has reminded you of something that you've been involved in, we'll give you a moment to respond. Thank you so much. Yeah, you can type directly into the poll question that's on your screen, if you like, or use the chat, the question and A portion of the chat feature. We can see some of the answers coming through. Thank you. Thank you to those who've responded to the poll question. It's now my pleasure to introduce our final speaker for today's event, and it's our Executive Director for Pacific Farm Organizations, Mr. Carl Stice. And Carl's going to share on how FO4ACP has supported the leveraging of climate finance for our farmers. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela, and thank you, Jenny and Talonga. Yeah, it's awesome to see what farmer organizations are doing to help farmers make more money. And the two examples that we see, having a market for their produce is so important for farmers. We know so many farmers are able to grow things, good quality products, but finding a place that they can sell them that has a steady price, that's very hard in the Pacific. And so it's awesome to hear how a little bit of donor funding being invested into factories and into processes can allow more farmers to earn a livelihood. So I just want to thank again the two stories from Samoa and from Tonga. So throughout FO4ACP, we were continually sort of surprised at how little climate finance was reaching farmers in the Pacific. We would hear about these massive climate change projects that were happening, and the amounts of money that they were talking about was so huge. And at the same time, year after year, our farmers across the Pacific would be struck by drought, would be struck by heavy rain or cyclones or all of these extreme weather events. But unfortunately, very little or none of that climate financing was actually reaching our farmers. And so we put together a more strategic process to see how we can bring some of that climate finance money down to the farmers in the Pacific. And what we realized is that if you are not at the table when projects are being discussed, if you are not at the table when finances are being allocated, then there's no way that you will be able to access this money. And one of the beautiful things about a farmer organization is maybe not every smallholder farmer can go to all of these meetings, but they can be represented by their farmer organization. And then at the global meetings, PIFON can be there to represent all of our members. So we began attending more of these climate change meetings, especially the ones that focused on adaptation funds. So these are the kind of funds, right? Like mitigation is about how can we stop our contribution towards climate change, emissions and things. Most of our farmers are not contributing to climate change. We are not big polluters or emitters. So in fact, the impact, or the main area that we are most interested in, is how can we adapt to these changes that are happening. And so looking at the various meetings, the big decisions are being made at this Convention of Parties, so the COP meeting. So we attended with FO4ACP the first COP28 meeting, the first time that any of us have ever been to these meetings. Obviously, there's been going on for 28 years, 28 COPs. Also, a number of regional and global events. But just attending these meetings wasn't enough, because we realized that there was lots of people who were asking for money. And so what we realized is that we have to come up with a very clear message. What is our problem? What is our solution? And what is the need in order to fund that solution? And so we worked with our members over a number of years of FO4ACP to really refine what should our response to climate change be. And in March 2023, we launched our climate resilient farming framework. So it wasn't a project proposal, but instead it was a framework. It says, these are the big needs that Pacific farmers have. We need to invest in adaptation. We need to invest in getting stronger farmer organizations. And we also need to invest in farmers having a seat at the table. And we launched this framework, and then we began meeting with different development partners. And so by June, we started our meetings. And the impact of this work, since we launched the framework in March 2023, is that we have been able to mobilize over $3.75 million directly for smallholder farmers. $3.75 million directly for smallholder farmers. And when I say directly for smallholder farmers, I mean 70% of that money, of that 3.75 million, is re-granted by PIFON to our farmer organization members. Then of that 70% that's re-granted to them, 90% of the funds that they receive are used for on-the-ground activities by the farmers. So we created a framework and a financing model that was not top-heavy, where most of the money stays up here and workshops and consultancies, but instead it was very small at the top and focused on getting money down to the grassroots. So I want to acknowledge some of the funders that have come to support our climate resilient farming framework. So the European Union was the first to step in through two smaller portions, an addendum to FO4ACP and the ACRE program, which brought in collectively 925,000 USD. And FAO contributed a further 100,000 USD. In 2024, Australia Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade committed to us and is now being spent down 675,000 USD. And then only last month, in the midst of many donor countries pulling back and people becoming unresponsive, Australia committed to us a further 2 million USD for the next 3 years directly for the climate resilient farming framework. And that's being rolled out in 7 different countries, led by 7 farmer organizations. So for me, there are some really important lessons to be learned. One is that you have to be at the table. You have to be present when policies are being developed, when programs are being designed, when resources are being allocated. If you're not there, you're going to be forgotten. And through farmer organizations and a regional farmer organization network, we can have a presence nationally, regionally, and internationally. But it's not enough to be there. You have to have a plan. So our framework was very clear. These are not only the problems, but the solutions, and these are the funding that we need. And this allowed donors to easily step in. And nobody's funding all of the framework, but they're saying, oh, we have some money and we're going to fund this part or that part or this part. So having a very clear plan allows us to be able to deliver and mobilize these resources. And finally, using farmer organizations means that we can take this money all the way down to the grassroots. Our network collectively reaches over 100,000 farmers. This means that we have the ability to take this, well, now it's not a little bit, it's quite a significant amount of money, and reach lots and lots of farmers in a way that is culturally appropriate, that is context specific. It looks different in the Cook Islands than in Tonga, than in Papua New Guinea. And that's really, I think, the special comparative advantage of farmer organizations. And we're so thankful for FO4ACP for giving us the time and the space to develop these strategies, to engage in these policy dialogues, and finally to mobilize these resources. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kyle. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank all the speakers again for what they've shared. As Kyle shared, the model that we have, it's all about ensuring that the majority of the funds gets to the farmers on the ground, so they're able to address the solutions they already have, but with the limited capacity that they've got, these funds really do help them to adapt to the changing climate and other situations that they're having to face. We now have an opportunity to have participants ask questions of the three panelists, Jenny, Taolonga, and Kyle. So if you'd like to pose any questions to them, please, you should be able to unmute yourselves and address them directly. If you prefer to put the question in the Q&A section of the webinar, please do so. I see Jeanette posed an earlier question which we responded to. So you've got those two avenues. So we now invite questions from the floor. So floor is open. Thank you. Yeah. Any questions at all for the panelists? Anything new that you've heard today that you'd like to comment on? Please do, feel free to either say to the floor, or you can put it in the Q&A section of the webinar. Jeanette, yes, please go ahead, Jeanette. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, so nice to see both of you, Angela and Kyle, and the rest of you, and to hear the stories of success. I think and I've been in and out, so I may have missed some of this. I'm just wondering, since we're talking about impact, what kind of metrics you all are using to measure? Is it simply X number of farmers and X number of dollars of additional income? Or is there a deeper level of impact that you're also measuring? Thanks so much.
Thank you for the question, Jeanette. I might invite first the panelists. Anyone wishes to respond to the question posed by Jeanette?
Maybe just quickly, in the context of FO4ACP, our indicators, are the amount of revenue, additional revenue generated by the farmers, and trade that resulted by these activities. But then I think maybe some of the stories that are coming out, which we are also measuring and capturing, talk to this idea of okay, well, what do the farmers do with this additional money? How does this change their livelihood? How does it impact their children or their families? And I know that there are a lot of these stories that have been captured, and maybe that is something that either Taolonga or Jenny would like to add on to. So I think maybe not just how much money was generated, but what was the impact of that money?
Yeah, thank you, Kyle. I think I can probably address this question. We did conduct a survey, I think maybe 2022, on our farmers when we did our soil and leaf testing. And we also did, some of the questions we posed was, with their additional income, what did they spend the money on? Who were the decision makers? And often it was a split decision between a 50-50 between the wife and the husband. So we did ask some of those questions as well, just to find out a little bit more, because we don't have a large number of farmers, but the farmers that we have do contribute a huge amount to the percentage of total exports for Tonga and agricultural produce. So that's why it was important for us to ask those questions. And also because they employ people to help them out on their farms, they contract out, like, for example, ploughing and things like that, mechanical expertise. There is a lot of stories of farmers sharing with farmers their expertise. So we have like a WhatsApp group, and all of our farmers share their knowledge on that with all the other farmers in the group. So we do capture things like that, but we do often find getting actual hard stats from farmers, because you have to understand also book work is quite new for them. In Tonga anyway, like it's quite new to actually record everything down, like all the hours that you're working. That's important. It's not just the people you're employing, but it's yourself as well. All the inputs, things like that. It's actually quite new record keeping. And also there's the confidentiality aspect. If you're asking them directly, oh, well, how much more money have you made? Then they're not going to share that, and that's fine, because they don't feel that comfortable, but they definitely feel comfortable with sharing, yes, we, have received a positive impact from that. And we do want to continue on with the soil and leaf testing. That was something completely new that hadn't been done for our commercial farmers. It had only been done for research. And that is something, activity that they have definitely wanted to continue on with, and they've seen the impact with that. So hopefully that helps to answer your question.
Thanks very much, Carl and Jenny. Sorry, there was a hands up from Taulonga and Flo. Did you have a question that you want? Did you want to respond to the question posed?
I was very interested in these and it's very smart. When you're looking at, as you said.
Sorry, Flo, sorry to disturb you. Are you able to move closer to the mic, please? Sorry. There we go. Thank you. We do want to, yes, we do want to hear from you. Yep.
Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. Anyway, just congrats, Jenny and Taulonga, and Carl, always a pleasure to hear what you're up to, and also to share some insights on what's going on in that great big world of consultations with the donors. I think Jeanette has raised a very valid point. For women in business, there's always a lot of quantitative measurements that take place. But what we have found is that what is more important and what is more visible is the qualitative results of the increase in economic activities for our families and for our farmers. So an example is we see a lot more of, so we have quite a few farmers now whose children have now gone through not just up to college, high school level, but they're now putting them through the national university. And these are the big indicators of how it was never an outcome that we had anticipated, but through the years of working with our farmer organizations and our individual farmers, we've found that the increase in the economic activities and the money that they were receiving is now being invested back into the family. And as you know, our Pacific people, it's all about the children. And it's so good to see how those funds are now being funneled through to ensure that there's continuity and that their children, our farmers in the far distance of Savai'i, in Falealupo areas, they've been able to put two of their children through university already, and they've completed their first degrees. So this, when you look at measuring the impact, and when you're looking at, determining how then do you measure success, and how do you determine that the funds that have been allocated by European Union have been used wisely and have resulted in increased and empowerment of our people. These are the stories. And I think I thank Jeanette for raising it, because these are the stories that we need to continue to bring to the fore. And these are the stories that actually speaks to the success of what PFON has done in our region, for the past how many years. And we will continue to, and we need to bring those stories because they really speak to the economic empowerment as well as the socio-cultural empowerment of our people as a result of the work that we've been doing.
Thank you so much, Flo, for sharing that. Jeanette, I hope that everyone's answered your question.
That was beautiful. That
Thank
was
you.
absolutely beautiful. And I think she summed it up so well, that and emphasized that we need to look beyond just the number of dollars and the number of people who are benefited, and whether it's the stories or whether it's captured in a different metric and reported back to the donors, and kind of also force the donors to understand that from our perspective, this is what matters, right?
Yes.
And gets them to change their own reporting requirements. Anyway, that was awesome. Thank you so much, Taloga and Jenny.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Janet, for sharing on that. So very true. It's how we report it. So we're grateful for the responses. I see Mr. Hollier has his mic open. Did you have a question for the panelists, sir?
Yes. Good morning, Talofa. I've been involved in agriculture and fisheries development since 1981 in the Peace Corps Haikau and in Samoa. And it's just so incredibly amazing to see what's reported now compared to what was happening back then. Money would just kind of come in and it would just kind of, be distributed, and there wasn't any stickiness to it. There wasn't any, what I would write down as multiplier effect or multiplier impact. And it's just brilliant to see after 40 plus years of this type of impact. So I want to say bravo. I think it's incredibly different. And I like the fact that you have the metrics. And I like this additional part of saying, and we did this, which resulted in this. We helped somebody make enough money to send their kids to school, and they came back and they got a great job or whatever. So excellent. The question I have, though, is this seems like it's maturing nicely on a nice pathway. If you look at some of the larger cooperatives in the US, like the raisin people or the orange juice people, eventually farmers get successful enough that they start funding their own organizations. So I'm hoping that that's part of the consideration, because it still just seems like money's flowing through. And I don't see evidence of them saying, I made $100, I'll put $3 into our own operation or our own organization. So anyway, just a thought. And again, thanks. It's fabulous to see this.
Thank you, sir, for your comments. I'll open the floor to the panelist who wishes to respond to Mr. Hollier's query. Thank you.
I just, thank you for those comments. And And I think farmer organizations do present a really good investment opportunity for funders because most farmer organizations have a business model. So if you look at women in business and you look at, Nishi that presented over there, the European Union funding wasn't for their operational costs. It was some element that allowed them to scale or to reduce a cost or to expand to new growers. And so in this way, these organizations are not dependent on this donor funding, but with public funding, they can expand market opportunities, they can increase competitiveness, which then obviously opens up space for increased volumes and things like that. So I think Jim, you spoke really uniquely to that point. And as donor funding gets increasingly competitive, I think we're all looking for ways to invest where we know there is kind of a ongoing sustainability plan. And I think the business models that most farmer organizations have provide that really unique opportunity. If the European Union were to stop funding, all of these organizations would continue. And I think that that's a unique proposition, but not to say that, with more support, that they couldn't reach more farmers or make the value chains more competitiveness. We have so many disadvantages in our region when it comes to high costs, and and this kind of donor funding allows the businesses to become more competitive and therefore bring in more and more growers, which is, if you ask farmers what they really need and what they really want, most of them want a steady market with a fair price. And I think that this is where farmer organizations with some public support can help provide that.
Thank you so much, Carl. Anyone further? Talonga or Jenny, sorry? All good? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Olia. Thank you, Carl, for responding to that. We have very limited time. We're very conscious of everyone's time, so we've strictly kept these webinars to an hour. Are there any further questions before we bring this session to a close? No. I'd like to take this time. It's been a really informative dialogue. We'd like to thank all the participants for sharing today. To our speakers, thank you for sharing on how the FOs have been able to support their farmer members through the FO4ACP project. This is component 1. We also have part of the series, we've also be covering impact stories for component 2 and component 3. And it's so very different when we hear directly from those who are working on the ground with the farmers. So we're really grateful for that sharing. We thank the audience for their participation. And we thank you for your patience. We had some technical issues today and we hope to improve for the next one, but we're really grateful that you were able to be involved. To the back of house crew, in the back here, there's a team that's working behind the scenes to be able to bring these series to you. There's another one in 2 weeks' time on another one of our projects, so please do join us if you are available. And certainly not forgetting our gratitude to all our partners, the EU, the OACPS, and EFAD. If it wasn't for this project, as you've heard, some of these impacts wouldn't be happening on the scale that they are happening. So thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and we look forward to welcoming you to the next webinar in 2 weeks' time.